Hey, welcome back to Blanche Talks Watches. Today we are going to be doing the full review of the gorgeous Citizen Promaster Bullhead limited edition in green. So a huge thank you again to republicoftime.ie who kindly loaned me this watch for review. If you're interested, I did a full unboxing video a couple of weeks ago, so if you want to check my channel you can see that there. Okay, let's get straight into it. So first up, the specs of the watch. The specs are nicely laid out on this aluminium display card. So as I said, it's the Promaster Bullhead limited edition. This timepiece is restricted to a series of 1,973 production pieces worldwide. The movement is hand assembled. It's a Flyback chronograph movement with a 1/5 second chronograph which measures up to 12 hours. There's a power reserve indicator, an alarm. It has anti-reflective sapphire crystal and 200 meters of water resistance. In the box you have your limited edition certificate card, which is numbered on the back to coincide with your watch. Obviously the aluminium display card. Nice display box. I won't go into it, I covered it in the unboxing video. Okay, let's dive in and look at the watch. This watch is designed based on a Bullhead model Citizen had out in 1973, hence why this is a limited edition of 1,973 pieces to pay homage to that watch. Nice little bit of trivia on the watch there. It is quite unusual looking. Obviously the Bullhead name comes from these two pushers at the top, which resemble bull horns. It's unusual crown position, one at the 12 and one at the 5. Very rarely see a crown at either of these positions. You do see a 12 o'clock crown on some watches. Some vintage watches which were actually converted pocket watches have the 12 o'clock crown, so it's unusual to see on a modern watch. And the 5 o'clock again is also unusual. Strange place to put a crown at 5 o'clock. It's not exactly the most ergonomic spot to use it. 12 isn't great either, but not too bad. But yeah, the 5 is quite unusual, especially with the shroud. The shroud which comes out there, not exactly easy to get a grip on. So the crown at 5 o'clock is not screw down, and what its function is for setting the alarm and turning it on and off. So you can see here the little indicator says on. If you push in the 5 o'clock crown, it snaps to off. And how you set the alarm, if you see the pointer here just before the 2, you pull out this crown and then you can rotate the pointer hand, and that is how you set the alarm. So as I've said before, the chronograph function on this watch measures in 1/5 second intervals, and the way you use the chronograph is you unscrew the 12 o'clock crown. Once you have that unscrewed, you can push this pusher here, and that starts the timing. So as I said, this is a flyback movement, so a flyback chronograph movement. So once you've stopped that using the same pusher again, use this pusher here at the 1 o'clock, and it snaps very quickly back to the 12 o'clock position. Very nice in this watch that it does snap back perfectly. An example of how it doesn't always happen that way is my personal Citizen chronograph here. So 1 second intervals, but it goes forward. It should go to the 12, but stops a second short every time. You obviously wouldn't expect something like that to happen on a watch of this caliber, and I was very happy to see it doesn't. It lines up perfectly. So this is a 12-hour chronograph. So the way that's measured is we have the hand that rotates in 1/5 of a second intervals, goes around, and this dial at the 12 o'clock position will record the minutes, and this dial at the 6 will record the hours up to 12 hours. I'll leave that running there so we can see it as we continue with the review. Now, one thing I did find very interesting about this watch is the position of the date window. It's halfway between the 1 and the 2 hour markers. It's a very unusual position to put a date. To be honest, I don't really like it. I know they've had to leave the hours, they've had to leave the numbers at an angle like that to fit them in. Otherwise the date window would have to be turned to align vertically, but I just think it's a little bit visually jarring. It is quite often to put it at the between the 4 and the 5 on different watches, and visually that does work a bit better because the angle you read your watch at, it makes sense to be at an angle down here. Up there the number is pointing away from you. It doesn't really make much sense to me. Likewise, the Citizen logo kind of forced in there between the 10 and the 11 just looks a bit out of place to me. I think it could have been incorporated better into the dial. Now this is a very busy dial. It can be quite stereotypical of Citizen models to have dials that are quite cluttered, but it does work for them. It's kind of their thing. I see a cluttered dial and I immediately think of Citizen. Not necessarily cluttered in a bad way, there's just an awful lot going on. You can see there's a tachometer, then there's a minute track, then the second track with the 5th to second markers as well. Then obviously all of the sub dials and the Eco Drive water resistance 200 meters marking on it. Even down to the way they've incorporated the charge meter with charge written on it. It's just a bit busy. Could have easily had that much more plain, but it's the style they're going for and it does work. Normally I'm not a fan of busy dials, but this Bullhead in this colour is absolutely gorgeous and I really do like it. We'll just jump back to the chronograph here. I'll just stop it there. You can see there how it's ticked over the minutes, and I'll reset it back to 0 and you'll see how quickly it resets. See, absolutely instantaneous. Very, very well done. Quite unusual for a watch to have 200 meters of water resistance but no screw down crown. Personally, I'm always very cautious using a watch in water that doesn't have a screw down crown. I know 100 meter water resistance generally wouldn't have a screw down crown, and this has 200 meters, but even my watches that have 100 meters without a screw down crown, I'm very, very slow to use them in the water. I like that extra level of just the mechanical protection of a screw down crown against water ingress. That said, this is rated to 200 meters with a 5-year warranty from Citizen, so I would trust that it can take it. In their booklet I think they mentioned swimming and snorkeling and all sorts, so look, they're going to stand over it if anything did happen. But one important thing to remember if you have any watch, not just this watch, but never use the crowns or the pushers or any functions when the watch is in the water, because that is how you get water into your movement and it will destroy your watch and void your warranty. Okay, so for the Lume, we'll check this out now. I haven't actually done a test on the Lume yet, so this will be my first time seeing it too. I'll just knock off this light and we'll see how good it is. Okay, that's quite impressive. It's very clear. It's a nice blue. It's showing up slightly more blue on the camera than it is in real life, but it's, yeah, the brightness looks about spot on. I'm pleasantly surprised by how legible it is. It's quite clear. I obviously haven't tested how long the Lume will last overnight. As I said, I haven't tested the Lume before this, but it is nice and bright. The Lume looks quite thin in terms of the layout of it. Oftentimes watches go for a blob of Lume rather than thin lines, so I think this is quite nice. It's different than anything else I have in my collection. The hands look quite nice as well, loomed up. One criticism though, for a watch that's as busy as this, I think I would have liked to see 2 if not 3 different colours of lume. I think it would tie in perfectly with the busyness of the watch when the lights are on. As you can see here, you've got white and black and red and green, and when you turn it off you've just got the plain blue of the lume. Nothing against that, not many watches have multicolored lume, but I think that's a touch they could have added to this. Okay, we'll move on then to the strap. It's a nice racing style leather strap in black with green stitching to match the dial, and the sides and back are also green. The clasp then, it's a butterfly clasp, the button. This is a new watch, so I haven't fitted it. I don't want to wear in the strap for whoever is going to be purchasing this particular one. Quite an unusual case back in the sense that it appears to be a separate unit to the actual watch. And there was a comment in my last video that it would have been nice to see a screw down crown, but this does say on it that, if I can get it, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to catch it, do not open, service center repair only. So Citizen do not want you opening this watch to go near it. And I mean, I'm not shy from opening up my watches and regulating the time or doing anything like that, but I think something like this I would not be touching if I owned it. Number one, it's €800 recommended retail price, and number two, they're just so complex. I just wouldn't want to go near it. So yeah, it's a service center only job, but look, it's a limited edition watch. I think that's something you're going to have to account for anyway. As I said, 5-year warranty, but with the Eco Drive movements are bulletproof. I wouldn't expect to need any work done to this for a long time. Now, I'm not exactly the best for having my watches serviced, so don't take my advice on how often to do that. Talk to your Citizen dealer and they can guide you on that. Citizen I currently have on my wrist, I've had it for about 4 years, regular use, Eco Drive watch. Never any issues, except for at one point I'd kept it in the box too long away from the sun and I just needed to leave it on the window to charge. That's it, that's all I've done to it. Never been serviced, and it still runs absolutely perfect. So yeah, it's a nice watch. It's very unusual. I'd say it'll be quite polarizing. The styling is, obviously it's a homage to a 1973 Citizen watch, but it's not like anything else. There's a couple of other Bullheads out there, but this is the original. It is very nice. It does wear very comfortably. I'll put it on the wrist now so you can see. Now, for reference, my wrist is 7 1/4 inches, which is quite a standard size. So here we have it now. It sits very nicely. It does have a bit of a high side profile, but the fact that there's no crown there makes it wear smaller than it actually is, because the crown at the 5 and the 12 instead of the more traditional 3 or 4 o'clock positions. Quite nice. It sits nice on the wrist. It definitely has presence, no doubt about that. The Bullhead is unusual. You're probably not going to come across somebody wearing something like this, so that's very nice. So just measure quickly to show you the size. So you have the digital calipers zeroed. So we're looking at about 45 with a lug to lug. Now again, this is slightly different than your standard lug to lug because of the way the strap fits. So you're looking at approximately 54. Now this watch certainly does not wear like a 45mm watch. That is helped massively by the lack of the crown on this side of the case. Gives it a bit more of a slim profile. If you think about it, if you had this sticking out an extra 6-7mm, it adds a lot of heft to the watch. So 45mm, yes, is probably too big. Sorry, 45mm a lot of people would consider too big, but this watch pulls it off. It's quite obvious how this pulls it off without the crown, unlike the 960 diver, which I reviewed before, which was 44mm with a 3 o'clock crown, and yet it felt much smaller. But yeah, this doesn't feel like your average 45mm watch. As I've mentioned before, price on this piece is €800. That's the recommended retail price. Now, republicoftime.ie are running some very, very good prices on Citizen watches at the minute. I believe it's 10% off most of their stock. Due to being a new company, they've managed to get some deals in for you guys. So I believe this is currently retailing from republicoftime.ie for €720. Now that is an incredible price. They haven't said it, but I'll say it. I think that is an unbeatable price. I've been looking around online to see could I find it cheaper. You know, a lot of times the Irish market is quite dear for everything, not just watches, and I've really struggled to find anything anywhere near that price. Most of them seem to be £700, if not more, which is considerably more than €720. So if you're in the market for one of these, definitely get onto republicoftime.ie and have a chat with them about buying it. Let them know I sent you. But yeah, I get nothing out of it, but I've linked in with the guys and they've kindly sent me this for review, and I will be getting more watches off them in the near future for review. So yeah, they're doing great things and surprisingly good prices. So yeah, I'd definitely, if you're interested in this or any other Citizen model, link in with the guys at republicoftime.ie. So overall impressions of this watch, very good. It's definitely, it's hard to describe. It is my style, it's not my style. I love green watches, I love green in general. I'm not a fan of busy dials. I love quirky watches. So it's a bit of love-hate. There's a lot of things I love about this watch. There's a lot of things I'm not crazy about in this watch, but I think I'd make the exception for it for being so nice. It's definitely funky and unusual. You can see with the black and the shroud and the case, which is almost like a traditional stopwatch that's been added into a shroud to attach it to a strap. I normally hate when watches use this type of lug because you can't just pick up any old strap and attach it on, but I think it fits the quirky aesthetic of this, and that's one thing I thought would bother me, but I haven't had this for a little bit. It really doesn't. Really do like the look of it. It's going to be polarizing. It's definitely not for everyone. I've seen a few comments, people love it, a few comments, people hate it. It's available in different colors. I believe there's blue, black, red, I think, as well, and then the green, but only 1,973 pieces. So yeah, overall, very, very nice watch. Very solid build quality, like you'd expect from Citizen, especially in the higher end watches. And the looks are very Citizen. The dial is a very Citizen-esque dial. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Would you be interested in buying one of these? Would you go for the green, or would you pick one of the different colors available? And as I've said before, massive thank you to republicoftime.ie for letting me get my hands on this piece. It's beautiful. It's not something I think I'd be buying myself, but I'm delighted I got my hands on it for a review. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like, comment and subscribe. Really helps me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.